It's unsustainable. To politicize everything means we're always fighting because we don't all agree and never will. And most people don't want to be forced to say anything. Kylie Jenner posted, "We stand with the people of Israel," and then deleted it, which is pretty much the opposite of standing with. One executive who was interviewed about the pressure companies have felt to make a statement about the Hamas war said, "We're not historians. A lot of us didn't understand the issue very well, didn't understand the history." Exactly. And I bet you still don't, so why not just shut the fuck up? I don't need to be reminded that Spanx' stretchy pants are against racism. Care who Frito-Lay stands with. You make bean dip. Just do that.
Hollywood is shaking after Bill Maher just dropped a nuclear bomb on Disney, and the fallout is absolutely brutal. In a takedown so savage it left Mickey Mouse clutching his pearls, Maher exposed Disney's desperate attempt to shove woke propaganda down America's throat. But here's the twist. Disney didn't just lose a culture war, they lost the audience. But wait, it gets worse. While Disney lectures parents about inclusion, they erased real dwarves from Snow White to avoid offending people. That's right, they canceled actual little people to virtue signal. The hypocrisy? Astounding. Want to see the clips that left Disney executives panicking? Buckle up. This is going to be a fiery ride.
Disney didn't want to get into a big pissing match with Ron DeSantis about in grade school, but its employees sure did, so they had to. Now one side thinks Disney said too much, the other thinks it didn't say enough. We see this pattern over and over. We saw it with Bud Light when they did ads with a trans influencer, and MAGA Nation thought it was a plot to use beer to
The mouse picked the wrong fight. When Disney declared war on Florida's parental rights bill, dubbed "Don't Say Gay" by hysterical activists, they thought they'd score easy woke points. Instead, DeSantis dropped the hammer, stripping Disney's precious self-governing status in a move that sent shockwaves through corporate America. This wasn't about inclusion, it was about power. Disney didn't just oppose a policy, they declared open season on parental rights while pushing radical gender ideology onto families. But here's what the media won't tell you. The Bud Light disaster proved Americans are done being lectured. The real outrage? Using Dylan Mulvaney, a biological man playing dress-up, to hawk beer to blue-collar dads was never about representation. It was a middle finger to traditional values. Same with Disney's LGBTQ crusade, families don't want activists rewriting childhood magic. Now the backlash is crippling. Disney gambled on wokeness and lost millions. The lesson? Push politics, pay the price.
Pride Month is now a minefield for corporations. This year, Target put up special rainbow displays which presented Christians who oppose gay marriage with an impossible choice. Either support a gay lifestyle and go to hell for it, or shop at Kohl's.
Let's set the record straight. The left's favorite lie? That Christians are trembling in fear of going to hell for shopping at Target. Here's the real story they're terrified you'll hear. This isn't about damnation, it's about defiance. When corporations aggressively push ideologies that undermine biblical values, faithful Christians aren't scared. They're making a stand. Every dollar is a vote, and they're refusing to fund what destroys their children's future. Bill Maher gets a pass. He's honest about his liberal agenda. But the media won't admit the obvious. Christians aren't bigots for protecting their values. They're the last firewall against corporate-sponsored cultural suicide. The battle lines are drawn. Woke companies can keep their rainbow propaganda, but they can't force faithful Americans to bankroll it. That's not intolerance. It's the principle they said didn't exist anymore. Who's really afraid here? Not the Christians quietly walking away, but the activists realizing their bullying tactics don't work anymore. Game on.
And why did I ever need to know that Chick-fil-A is chicken? Can it just be chicken? This is unsustainable. It's unsustainable. To politicize everything means we're always fighting because we don't all agree and never will. And most people don't want to be forced to say anything.
Kylie Jenner's pathetic Israel flip-flop revealed the dirty truth. Today's celebrities would rather delete their principles than face the mob. 1 minute, standing with Israel, the next running from backlash. This isn't activism, it's moral cowardice in designer heels. The real scandal? These pampered stars created this monster. They built brands on virtue signaling, then act shocked when the outrage machine turns on them. Bill Maher nails it. You can't monetize wokeness, then cry foul when the mob demands perfect ideological purity. Disney's learning this lesson the hard way. Their live-action Snow White wasn't just bad, It was a case study in woke self-sabotage. While preaching inclusion, they erased dwarf actors from their own story. The progressives became the exclusionists, banning little people to avoid offending someone. Here's the brutal truth the left won't admit. Celebrities aren't activists. They're brand managers terrified of cancellation. Woke corporations always take inclusion too far until it becomes discrimination. Real people, from dwarves to blue-collar dads, are just pawns in their virtue-signaling game. The backlash is coming. Audiences are done with lectures masquerading as entertainment. Disney had one job: make magic, not propaganda. Until they remember that, their stock will keep plummeting faster than Kylie's deleted principles. Want proof wokeness has jumped the shark? When even Bill Maher, a lifelong liberal, is calling out the insanity, you know the pendulum's about to swing hard. Disney had one job: tell a timeless fairy tale. Instead, they delivered a cringeworthy feminist manifesto that insults the original story, the audience, and the very actors they claim to champion. Rachel Zegler's shocking interview revealed everything wrong with modern Hollywood, trashed the original film as weird and problematic, mocked the central love story as stalker behavior, bragged about cutting the male lead scenes entirely. This isn't empowerment, it's cultural vandalism. While preaching inclusivity, Disney erased dwarf actors from their own story, rewrote classic characters into political mouthpieces, alienated the families who built their empire. The result? A box office bomb that proves audiences are done with lectures disguised as entertainment. Bill Maher was right. Disney forgot its purpose. People don't want revisionist history, they want magic. They don't need feminist Snow White, they need the Snow White their grandparents loved. The lesson is clear. Woke storytelling equals lost revenue. Traditional values equals timeless success. This Thanksgiving, here's the real message for Hollywood. Make great stories again. Stop the political preaching, or keep losing millions. The choice is yours, Disney, but the audience has already voted. With their wallets, everyone is free to believe what they want. That's the beauty of a free society. But with that freedom comes the right to push back when we're being constantly lectured about what we should accept, celebrate, reject, or cancel. People are tired of being told what to swallow and what to spit out, especially when the messaging feels more like moral coercion than genuine conversation. And let's be clear, that freedom cuts both ways. Just as progressives have the right to champion their causes, conservatives and anyone else who disagrees have the right to boycott products, companies, or entertainment they believe are promoting a woke agenda. That's not intolerance. That's consumer choice. That's capitalism. You can't demand ideological loyalty from your audience and then cry foul when they walk away. If a company chooses to go political, it should be prepared for political consequences. They're voting with their wallets, not their fists. And that too is a form of free expression. In the end, it's simple. Audiences crave great stories, not ideological sermons. When companies like Disney prioritize activism over authenticity, they alienate the very people who built their legacy. Bill Maher isn't defending bigotry, he's defending common sense. If entertainment keeps choosing politics over magic, viewers will keep walking away. And honestly, who can blame them? But 2023 marked the year consumers finally said enough. And the consequences are proving devastating for companies that bet wrong on America's appetite for activism disguised as entertainment. The rules of engagement have fundamentally changed. Where corporations once enjoyed unilateral power to dictate cultural norms through marketing campaigns and content, they're now confronting an empowered consumer base that understands its collective purchasing power. This isn't about suppressing free speech. It's about exercising it. When Disney lectures parents about gender ideology while erasing opportunities for dwarf actors, when Bud Light abandons its core demographic to chase activist clout, they're learning the hard way that brand loyalty flows both ways. What makes this moment particularly damning for corporate activists is the sheer hypocrisy on display. These are the same institutions that spent years lecturing Americans about voting with your dollar for progressive causes. The financial fallout tells the real story. Disney stock has plummeted as families reconsider theme park visits and cancel Disney Plus subscriptions. Bud Light lost its position as America's top-selling beer after alienating its working-class base. Target's Pride Month fiasco erased $15 billion in market value. These aren't coincidences. They're direct consequences of prioritizing activist staff over customer values. At its core, this backlash represents something deeper than political disagreement. Americans are rejecting the constant moral hectoring that's infected every aspect of culture. They're tired of being scolded during football games, lectured in children's movies, and preached at while shopping for groceries. The road back requires humility many corporations may not possess. It means separating human resources priorities from customer-facing content, respecting that most consumers want escapism, not activism, recognizing that for every blue-check activist on Twitter, there are thousands of normal customers just wanting good products. As we enter 2024, the lesson for corporate America is clear. Continue down the path of alienating your customer base at your own peril. The culture war has entered its most decisive phase yet, and for the first time in years, ordinary consumers hold all the leverage. How corporations respond will determine which brands thrive in the new normal, and which become cautionary tales in business school case studies about the dangers of putting activism before customers. The revolution won't be televised. It'll be tracked in quarterly earnings reports and boardroom panic. Want to stay ahead of the next corporate collapse? Subscribe now for unfiltered analysis the mainstream media won't give you.